morning, Elmar Broadcast News. For Women's History Month, today we'll be interviewing Ms. Regina Agrusa, the Superintendent of Schools. My name is Nara Precor, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-hosts, Julie Smith and Aparna Amin.
Good morning. And so, as we celebrate Women's History Month, is there anyone that you look up to for inspiration?
I think inspiration comes from many places, and if you ask me to think about one individual person, I'm going to say my mom. And I'm going to say that because as daughters, our mothers hold special places in our heart, and they're the first one to love us unconditionally, and for me, to remind me that I could do anything. And so my earliest recollections is my mom was always my biggest cheerleader and my biggest fan and my biggest supporter. So all of the decisions that I make, I've always keep my mom kind of tucked in my heart. And I think about who she was as a woman, and I just admired her so much.
That's a beautiful response. Thank you so much.
Congrats on becoming the first female superintendent in our district. What does it mean to be a trailblazer in this capacity?
Thank you for that question. I don't typically think about it as a trailblazer, and folks remind me of the importance of this moment, and that I've given young girls and young women the opportunity to see themselves in this position and to have this responsibility in this moment at this time. And so what it means to me is that we're going to change the world one day at a time, one face at a time. And if I can provide opportunities and dreams and goals for other young girls and young women, then I think I'm humbled and honored to be in that position at this time.
Thank you.
So you began your career at Elmont, I heard, as a school counselor and a coach. So how did those memories from Elmont, what were they like?
That's a great question. And I often reflect back on my time here in the Sewanee Central High School District, and folks that know me will have heard this already, that my time here at Elmont, without a doubt, how could it not be, was my most fondest memories of my career, my journey here. And I'm going to share with you that the day that I was hired at Elmont Memorial High School, I celebrated. I was so excited. It was a change in career, and to have the opportunity to become a school counselor, it formulated my career path, but it reminded me in that moment that I found my professional home. And I enjoyed the opportunity to really engage and to learn so many fascinating things about our students, our parents, our community, and then of course having the opportunity to coach gave me the chance to work with young girls and young women outside of the educational setting and work on skills that I think are transferable in life. And for that, I'm truly, truly grateful. I had wonderful memories, great people, great friendships, colleagues. It's a very, very special place.
So how do you think those roles and memories shaped your journey to become superintendent?
I think what it taught me is that in every meeting and every decision and every conversation that we're having in a central office, we are reminded that these decisions impact students. And so having been here, it gives me a great framework. It gives me a great barometer to know that when I'm sitting and I'm talking to folks in the larger organization, that there are middle schoolers, that there are high schoolers, that there are students that are preparing for life after high school. So to be intentional about the decisions and to make sure that those decisions are going to have positive outcomes and positive impact and experience for students. Having been here, it gives me great perspective.
Studies find that women in educational leadership roles have had their efforts overlooked for advancement opportunities which are predominantly directed to male colleagues. Have you ever experienced anything similar in your journey?
We have to really change that, right? We have to work on that statistic because I don't want boys or girls to grow up and to think that, oh, so a principal, if we only showed principals as one gender, then folks would think that that's how that position will be. And I think what has happened over the last decade is that we're starting to recognize and highlight some fascinating achievements that are made in all industries by women. When you ask my feelings of any kind of marginalization or having felt a difference between the two genders, I have not encountered a feeling of less than. I've always just looked at a team of people who had the same skill set, the same profile, the same excitement, the same goals to be in these leadership roles. So I've been really fortunate in my career that I really could not recall a time where I felt that I was on that other end.
What is some advice you would give to young women who may encounter this type of issues?
That's a great question, and I think as women, we all sit here as a collective, and we all have a shared responsibility in ensuring that all young girls and young women believe that they can absolutely make positive impacts in this world and in your local communities and in our professional environments. And what's really great about this moment is we have those role models in all industries, and we have to remind young people to dream, to work hard, to be confident, to find your voice, to have conviction, and also to surround yourself with people that are going to bring you up. And when you're not feeling that way, to change something so that you can have a day where you feel, you know what, I've been surrounded by folks that lift me up. That's going to make me feel better prepared to face my goals.
Were there any other careers that you wanted to pursue?
This was a second career for me. So I spent some time in the private sector. After I graduated college, I went to graduate school. I worked on Wall Street in New York City and had a little taste of private industry. So I often think about this career as my chosen, this is what I wanted to do, but I just didn't know that when I was in college. So for me, I knew that I was not satisfied, I was not fulfilled, I wasn't feeling that sense of purpose and accomplishment, and I knew I needed to make a change. And as I said earlier, making that change gave me the opportunity to have this incredibly fulfilling, professional experience.
A follow-up, what made you choose this path?
I wanted to make a difference. I wanted to go back in my own reflection and remind myself, when was I the happiest? When was I able to flourish and to thrive? What was that environment that will fuel my soul? And I made a drastic change and put myself in positions to work in schools so that I could connect with students as I was pursuing my graduate degree to become a school counselor. And I had to experience what I did in the private sector to understand that at the end of the day, I wasn't feeling that gratification. And the minute I started working as a school counselor, it was so rewarding and fulfilling, and my students inspired me to be better. And I love the opportunity to round table and to talk about what it felt like to be 12 or 13 and to set goals and to enhance the quality of lives for our students. And I've never looked back. I've never had a regret. I've never had a regret.
Is that what led you to further your education and get your administrative degree?
This is what led me to further my education. It was being surrounded by incredible leaders, other strong female administrators that recognized potential and promise and commitment. And that's what it really does take. I really believe that we as women, we pass it forward, right? And I think you've explained how you've done some of that even in your organization here. And so while working here at Elmont, I was afforded the opportunity to work with really incredible leaders, and early on really motivated, encouraged, and inspired me, and explained to me that you can always have a little bit of a greater reach and you can increase your capacity to have impact on more students as you move up into leadership roles.
Thank you. Following up, many women in leadership roles credit their mentors for encouraging them to pursue these higher careers. Was there any mentors who led you towards this, and how did they support you in this case?
When I was hired here as a school counselor, the building principal at the time was incredibly influential. And she taught me the significance of working in a public school education and how education is the game changer for in enhancing students and people's quality of life. And very early on, she explained opportunity, commitment, goal setting, and teaching all students here at Elmont that if they can appreciate and value and understand the moment that they're in their public school education, and then plan for some post-high school opportunities, that would enhance qualities of life, and that would contribute to our community in ways that would be really incredible. And so for me, that woman continues to be my role model and a mentor who has supported me throughout the duration of my career, and I'm still in touch with her. And what I really like about being here right now is this is where it started, and that's where that relationship was formulated, and I'm incredibly grateful to the support that I received. And so that's why it's really important for me to recognize the importance of giving back and passing it forward to other young professionals, teachers, counselors, coaches, administrators.
Thank you.
So as a superintendent, we realized that your cell phone has to be on 24/7 to make emergency decisions and such. Studies show that 95% of female superintendents feel that they've made sacrifices that male colleagues haven't. So how do you manage your work-life balance in such a demanding role?
Women do it all, right? And so we have these conversations about, that balance, right? Whether it's, family and motherhood and raising a family and, commitment to work and being available and you want to be everywhere. There's just so many opportunities to spend your time. The cell phone has really changed the way that we all live our lives, and it's no exception with the role of the superintendent. The expectation is that you are available and you are accessible 24/7. So you want to be available because of all the things that you've shared, that there are times where you need to be able to respond to something that's of a great need. But we also have to give ourselves permission and give ourselves grace to create separation so that we can maintain some balance. So we have to find things that recharge us. We have to find things that give us the opportunity to reset. So I guess my answer to the question is you are correct, that there's a lot of expectations that women are also head of households at home, and that they're balancing the workload with the home load and the family load. But I think it's all intentional decision making and trying to carve out that time so that you can be present and you can be where your feet are when you're here, and then yet when you're taking the time off to be with your family, that you're present there as well. It's really important for me that my family can see me and not feel distracted when they're in my company. I want to be able to have those quality relationships outside of work as well as when I am in here at work.
So as a follow-up question, did you ever have trouble creating that balance?
Yes, I continue to have trouble, and I think that is an incredibly difficult thing that I struggle with every single day, is how to carve out balance and how to give myself some time for recharging my batteries. And I look at my calendar on a Sunday evening and I try to chart out that week, and getting to buildings and getting to events and seeing artwork and seeing our students thriving in the classrooms with all the exciting things that they're doing and getting my workload done. But I try to find, is there a half an hour where I can go for that walk, or I can read something for pleasure as opposed to reading something that's work related. But it's day-to-day decision. It's a day-to-day challenge. And because I'm new, this is a new role for me, so I'm transitioning and understanding, you know, what the expectations and the responsibilities and the challenges are. And I don't want to miss anything. So I definitely am struggling a little bit with that balance, but I'm committed to trying and to getting better at it. I know that maybe in a few months I'm going to have a better answer for you because I've done it a little bit better.
Despite women making up a large portion of the education workforce, only about 30% of large school districts are led by women. What are your thoughts on this disparity and what can be done to improve representation and equality in leadership roles?
I think that for so long, people have seen these leadership roles occupied by men, and it therefore became the expectation that they would continue to then therefore be occupied by men. It was almost the expectation that there are certain professions, there are certain jobs, there are certain industries that we have just seen men doing, and so then we expect that. And we probably could think about some other areas where we've seen women predominantly in roles where we're seeing some shifts in, and this is how we move the needle. We must role model. We must put all people in all positions so that we can see everybody in these roles. And so what does that mean? That means opportunities for women of color, women of not national origin, not first English speaking folks, people that have not had the same traditional pathway. We have to create opportunities for people to be represented in various leadership roles so that young people who are following can aspire and can see themselves in those roles. And I was alarmed. I was really a little alarmed to see how many men are continuing to hold these leadership roles in education. But I do think that we're going to start to see a shift because we're talking about it, we're more aware about it. There are more people that are intentionally finding folks to pursue and mentoring people and encouraging strong individuals to pursue these leadership roles. So I do think, and I do hope, I remain hopeful that will be something that we will see an increase in the future, because there are more women in classrooms and less women in the leadership roles. We want to work on that.
Yes. You have expressed excitement through your work when dealing with staff and students. How do you plan a foster collaboration to support student growth?
Our students are the heart and soul of our organization. That's the business that we are in. And for folks that I've spent time talking to about this, it will be always near and dear to my heart to make sure that the student experience is optimal, and that at all times during the day when students are in our schools, that they feel seen and heard and validated, and that we create spaces that are just not physically safe, but that are emotionally safe, because the inclusivity is integral to outcomes. And when I walk into a classroom, and I spend 20 or 30 minutes in a classroom, I'm always very mindful of hearing the voices of all the students in the classroom. I want to foster an environment where everyone is participating, and we do that one teacher, one staff member, one classroom at a time. And when I walk into the halls, I want to feel that I am in a culture of care. I want folks around me to feel that they are cared for, and I want to feel cared for. And we need to teach. We have to sometimes teach these skill sets, because we cannot assume that everybody understands what it means to be empathetic, or to be persistent or resilient. We assume people understand, but we must teach those skills, and we must demonstrate those skills and role model those skills. I do get very passionate about it, because it really is the core of my existence, that if at the end of the day I can drive home and I know that under this this leadership, that students and staff feel included, and they feel cared for, and they feel respected and validated and safe during their school day, and that's students and adults as well, then we are fostering a community that has endless possibilities.
Thank you.
So for the final question, what advice would you give to young women such as us to get into leadership positions, not just in education, but also in other professions?
I am incredibly inspired when I am in the company of students that talk about what could be, and they talk about dreams that they may have had, books that they may have had, movies that they may have seen, where they're able to connect to other people in leadership roles. And it could be an athlete, it could be their hero. But when I talk about a visualization or an aspiration, I use that as an opportunity to say, well, why not you? Why not now? How can we encourage folks to rise up and see those images as themselves? Because so often, like, we're entertained by these heroes, and what I like to do is sometimes like shift that narrative and say, well, now let's visualize, how is that person that you have looked up to and how you have respected, how do you become that person? How is that you? And I think it really does start with a deep belief. I opened up talking about my mother, someone that gave me this unconditional support and confidence and reassurance. And I think we need to surround ourselves with people that are going to encourage us to be the best versions of ourselves, and to leave that sheet open. Like, what is the best version of ourselves? Like, it doesn't start and end. Like, it should be open-ended, and you can constantly revisit that. And I think that we have to take these calculated risks and put ourselves in positions that we're uncomfortable to stretch our capacity. And then all of a sudden we're like, wow, I could do that. Like, wow, like, I'm really good at that. Or wow, like, I really enjoyed that company of that person that day. And I think that supporting one another is incredible. It is so valuable. We take it for granted. Kindness matters. Encouraging people matters. And inspiring people and encouraging our friends and our colleagues to see more, to see what is next, and to just engage in the conversation, I think really does yield some positive outcomes. And what is a leader? A leader can lead anywhere. Teachers are leading every day. Students are leading every day. In your circle, in your round table, in the cafeteria, in your classrooms, you are demonstrating those leadership skills by bringing other people up, by offering encouragement and kindness, by complimenting, by supporting. Those are forms of leadership. And then they can take on roles in communities. I've seen it in church, I've seen it in athletics, I've seen it in industry, in education. The way we define leaders is that we bring and we make people feel good about who they are.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your time. Have a great day.
Thank you. I really enjoyed my time with you, and I applaud the work that you're doing. So thank you for sharing your space with me today.